What's going on, everybody? Starting the first part of my tank build as promised. I have my new Exoterra 24 by 18 by 18 laying on its back, top off, doors opened. I'm gonna start gathering some wood, some cork bark, and get my caulk gun and start kind of laying out my design and hopefully start laying in the background today. Stay tuned. Thanks. So I've started to lay in some cork bark and some of the other wood pieces I've gotten, just trying to figure out how I want it to look. Over in the left hand corner you'll see this piece of PVC pipe. It's just something I do to give me quick access to draining out the bottom drainage layer. If it overflows, I can just run a piece of airline tubing. I typically try and, I don't know if it's going to focus through the glass, I try and notch out the bottom just to help so it won't get clogged up by the drainage layer. But what I'm going to do next is start siliconing in some of these pieces to help them stay a little bit better, including the piece of PVC pipe for the drain. And after that, I will hit it with some Great Stuff foam and we'll go from there. Thanks. Alright, so I have siliconed in a few pieces of the cork tube and a few pieces of cork bark, and as well as my drainage pipe. Next I'm going to be hitting it with this Great Stuff spray foam, and I'm going to attempt to set in some of these planting pots you see down there, just to kind of help me get some greenery on the background. I know some people don't and some people do, but I'm going to spread some silicone on the glass before I spray the Great Stuff foam. Just something that was pointed out to me by thebiodude.com is that it helps the Great Stuff stick over time. It'll keep it from peeling away a little bit. You can see the bottom of the tank here. So I got quite a bit of area to fill up under some of this. With the foam, I'm going to use the top of it as a planter of some kind, almost like a second level, I'm sorry. And the goal is to have the small cork tube coming out towards the front of the tank, just to kind of give the tank some depth. So hopefully it'll all work out once I get the foam set in, and we will go from there, and I'll pick it back up once I've started spraying some foam. Thanks. So I've hit it with the first layer of the Great Stuff foam. I didn't want too thick of a background. One, because it seems to not cure as well, and two, that the tinks aren't going to be climbing as much like some of the arboreal dart frogs will. I have not set any of the planter pots yet because I'm using some of them to help prop up the cork tube I have. I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and I'm going to come back in and see where I need to put a little extra foam. Don't worry about getting any on the glass. It's easy to scrape off once it's dry. But hopefully I will get the foaming done here in the first part of the day, let it sit for 24 hours or so, and we'll pick this video back up once the foam's dry, and I can start carving it to get it ready for the substrate to silicone onto the background. Might add a little piece in about trying to foam in some of these little planters. But until then, I will see you on the next clip. Thanks. It was a little tricky to try and film this with just two hands. I don't have anybody here helping me, so I didn't get me setting them in on film, but I went ahead and stuck in two of these planter pots. I'm going to be planting something that'll hopefully grow over and take over all the background here, just to give it a little green. I don't know what yet. If you have any recommendations, feel free to comment, but just wanted to get two in there. I don't think I'm going to put any more, sink any more into the background. One, because I used the entire can of foam already, but two, again, this is just a background. The tinks aren't going to be climbing up and down it like thumbnails will be. So just wanted to break up kind of the mundane brown a little bit with some green. So hopefully it'll all work out. Anyway, stay tuned and I will get the next part of the build started. Thanks for watching, guys. So this is what I ended up with. Some air pockets or uncured foam kind of deep in the back of it. See if I can get it on the camera. So I was poking it with a long needle or sharp object, trying to get some air back there to get it to dry. You can see I spread some silicone around to help it adhere to the glass. I was going to use a paintbrush and kind of coat the glass evenly, and I got lazy. But you can see kind of down in the corners where the foam got really thick, it never cures great. So I'll probably let it sit a little bit longer before I start carving real heavily into it. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. The tube, the branch, you know, is pretty secure. It's going to support itself okay. My last tank, some of the foam ended up pushing some of the cork bark pieces out of position when it expanded, which is why I wanted to silicone these down first. But everything pretty much stayed where I wanted it. So the easiest way to go about carving, I'll start a little bit now on some of the thinner sections, is I found that a serrated kitchen knife, just a cheap one, is like the easiest thing I found to start carving, and just, you know, just start shaping things however you want it to look. I don't even know, I might have missed that on the camera. But just start shaping things however you want it to look, and I just kind of let it fall into the glass. And I'll pick up the big pieces by hand and vacuum out the little stuff with a shop vac. But this is really the most fun part. You get to shape your background and what you think it should look like, and you know, you can go as detailed as you want. I've seen people who make them look like tree trunks and different things like that, or different rock work. I think I've seen a guy who carved like little blocks to make it look like a temple that had been out in the rainforest and started to fall down. But yeah, I might get started on a little bit of this today, but for the most part, I'm going to let the foam cure a little bit longer, and we'll pick back up there. Thanks. So I've spent the last 30 minutes or so carving at some of the foam. I haven't really been going too deep because I really want to make sure the back has cured really well. You know, that's probably all I'm going to do for now. I'll go ahead and end this first part of the video. And again, this really wasn't supposed to be a how-to, just trying to kind of chronicle my process of building the tank. There's plenty of how-to videos on the internet that, you know, guys much more experienced than me. Just figured I'd share my tank build as best I can. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the part 1 of this tank build. And we will pick up next week with, I usually paint the back and sides of my tank black to kind of gives it a little bit cleaner look and hides the foam. And since the only space I have to display my tanks is in the living room, my wife prefers that they look nice. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and call it into part 1, and I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate all the likes, the comments, and obviously the subscribers. Stay tuned for part 2 coming up in the next week or so. Thanks.